Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And of course, I am your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we have an action-packed show for you today. It is going to be lots of new content coming to Double Barrel Gaming in the form of some pop culture being sprinkled into the gaming news that you know and love. Obviously, we're going to be talking Marvel. We're going to be talking DC. And of course, like tonight, we're going to be talking some Star Wars. And some might be asking, why the change? Well, it's not because I feel like we don't already talk about enough of the big topics. But the truth of the matter is how much longer can we as cultured nerds ignore what's going on in Star Wars and what's going on in DC and, of course, what is coming to the MCU, not only at the beginning of next year, but for the next several years. And our TVs at home are going to be the real battlegrounds moving forward for us watching all of this incredible content. Because, to be honest, I don't know about you guys and gals, I would much rather pay and watch a film here in the safety of my house than ever go back to a theater. Now, that may change later on in a year from now, 2 years from now, but for now, I'm enjoying just sitting in front of my TV with Mrs. Boomstick and enjoying a lot of the new content. And of course, we're going to open up the show with Mandalorian Season 2 finale. And this is the spoiler alert, folks. Listen, if you are someone that did not watch it, please reconsider listening to this show at least for the first, 30, 40 minutes of the show, because we are going to get really, really deep into some nerd Star Wars sweatiness, if you will. And it could potentially spoil for you. Obviously, we do have Tempest Son, who is going to sit out the first part because he has not seen it. And obviously, we're still waiting on a few of the other panel members. And I believe someone is here now, and that'd be Clowns, who cannot wait to talk about it. But let's get into the introduction. So first, we're going to open up with someone making his debut, not only on Double Barrel Gaming, but Primetime Gaming, and that is CMBR. Ray, how the heck are you? Welcome to tonight's program.
Wow, Boom. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on. Thanks for hosting these shows, panel. Great to chat with you guys. Been listening for the better part of, like 8 or 9 months now, and it's just a great honor to get a chance to sit down and chat with you.
Well, it's great. It's definitely great to have you a part of tonight's show. We obviously, you reached out to me a couple of weeks ago via DM, like of course I encourage many others to do if you want a shot at podcasting, and we were able to finally get all those T's crossed and those I's dotted. So thanks so much for being here, brother. We definitely appreciate it. And I think you're going to do just fine. You already sound like a podcast professional. So just sit back and get ready for 2+ hours of the best gaming / pop culture talk on YouTube. So we're going to get to our regular panel members, and we're going to start with one of the loudest, most voices of the panel. Mag, you know him as potentially Dr. Evil. Welcome to the program there, dude.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Boom. Good evening, Chad. Good evening, Ray. Welcome to the show, brother. And guys, we got a hell of a show for you guys tonight. I am super excited to be here. We got some big topics. We got Star Wars. That is my one true love right there. So, guys, I'm so excited. Let's just get right into it.
Oh, thanks so much for being here, brother. And yes, you have really done your homework. You've watched it multiple times, and we're going to have a lot to get into. Next up, our resident Cape Crusader who knows a thing or three about Star Wars. Please welcome Cybernox.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, chat? Yes, feels good to be here. Another Primetime Gaming podcast for all of you. It's going to be a great show. Ray, welcome to the panel. Glad to be here, sharing tonight's episode with you, and can't wait to get into these episodes. I literally just finished The Mandalorian right before the show, so everything is fresh in my mind. Can't wait to get into it.
Well, thanks so much for being here, brother. Super appreciate it. Next up, someone that knows a thing or three about, I don't know, comics, pop culture, video games, movies. It's our Italian brother. Clowns, welcome to the program there, dude.
Hey, what's going on, man? But it's a pleasure being here, and it's awesome to be on Ray's first time ever appearance with all of you here. This is going to be a great episode, but with Tempest, unfortunately, I have not finished or watched season 2 yet on Mandalorian.
Okay, so listen, what I
Absolutely.
suggest you do is I would definitely tap out for a minute. We're not going to go too long on it. It's going to be 30 or 40 minutes, and then we're going to get into some of the video game stuff because I don't want you to. I certainly don't want it ruined for you. So I would definitely take the knee on this one as both Mag, Ray, and myself and Cybernox go into this, and then we'll bring you guys back in. Obviously, as soon as we're talking Capcom and what's going on with the scalpers and how that's hurting the PlayStation 5 and its sales. So we'll come back to both of you guys. So listen, let's get into the nitty gritty. The Mandalorian was a show that when it was announced, no one knew exactly what Jon Favreau was going to bring to the Star Wars universe. I mean, obviously, we're talking about two films that went back to back in, of course, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have seen every Star Wars film in a movie theater. I have been a lifelong Star Wars fan. I was extremely fortunate enough to see Star Wars A New Hope in theaters way back in the day in 1977 at Co-op City's City Cinema. Now, if my brother Neo Mental is listening, he is probably smiling from ear to ear because that was a 2-screen, small house kind of a movie theater that, of course, has gone the way of the dodo. It has been closed for years. And I saw many of films there, but I remember my mother and father taking me and my brother to see that in the theater. I was 7 years old and got a chance to witness just movie magic. So I have seen every Star Wars film except the last big Star Wars film, which I'm going to be honest with you, I detested. I thought that as much as I enjoyed J.J. Abrams' episode 7, and I quite enjoyed it. I've seen it over 25 times. I really liked the direction they potentially were going to go with it. I did like how it was a little safe, but at the same time still gave me the Star Wars magic. And then, of course, Star Wars is not the same. That is, of course, until The Mandalorian season 1 happened last year. Now, season 1 was great, and it played a lot of. It was very safe, if you will. But season 2 was nothing short of complete fan service. Now, the one thing I do want to talk before I get into the panel members. I have seen some things in my time being a podcaster, and one of the things that shocks me is when I see stories being posted by the media saying that there were some Newsweek, The Mandalorian season 2 review, spin-off overshadowed by fan service, preposterous. Radio Times, The Mandalorian season 2, betting too big on fan service. And here's one I've never heard of. It's called the something soapbox. And they said something to the effect that, let me see if I could pull it back up. Here it is. The Mandalorian fan service is too much. Wow. Okay, so maybe they shouldn't be writing these papers because, my God, if you thought that this was too much fan service, I don't know if you're a real Star Wars fan, but let's get into the season finale. And I'm going to start with Mag. Mag, listen, you have a lot to say on this. This is a subject when I brought it up in the DMs that you were ecstatic. You could not wait to talk about. What were your overall impressions with the season finale of The Mandalorian season 2?
Well, before I even get into the finale, I just want to say the entire season 2 was nothing short of a masterstroke.
Yeah.
That's the way I looked at it. I mean, I loved season 1. I loved it. Absolutely adored season 1. And then they came back with season 2 and it was just so strong. Every episode, even the quieter episodes were really, really good. So there was never really like a downtime, and they showed a lot of stuff that you would never have seen before and characters that you would never seen before. And I always thought that was really cool. Like, for example, I think it was episode 3 of season 2. And they went to that water planet, and they were on the boat and all that kind of stuff. And then they had those squid guys. We haven't seen those squid guys with the squid faces. They haven't shown up since episode 4 in 1977 in the cantina scene on Tatooine on Mos Eisley. So can you imagine, like, they're sitting there and Favreau's just, Favreau and Filoni are sitting there and they're like, hey, why don't we do like a little side story with the squid guy from like 77? Or, like things you would never think about, because they were just kind of like, they would flash by the screen and then all of a sudden they turn into a story in this show. So they're expanding that universe a little bit. For example, another one, probably one of my favorite episodes of the season besides the finale, would be the one with the Tusken Raiders / Sand People and with the giant dragon. That was remarkable.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what it was? What was great? A lot of people don't realize about that dragon. About when they lifted up the pearl, that was actually a mission from Knights of the Old Republic on the OG Xbox.
You see, like all the little, well, no pun intended, Easter eggs. So, no pun intended there. But anyways, the point is, and of course, actually, if you watch episode 4 again, the 1977 one, when R2 and 3PO are walking through the desert of Tatooine, what's there? There's a skeleton. It's obviously not the same one because it's a different timeline, but it's the same skeleton of another sand dragon.
Yes,
right, because you could actually see the bones there, right? So it's pretty cool. But like that nice little throwbacks, and especially if you pay close attention, and if you're a huge Star Wars fan, you'll see all these things and really appreciate them. Now, anyways, as for what you were just talking about, Boom, this fan service, yes, give me more. And you know why you didn't hear about those media outlets? Like, oh, there's this other media outlet I never heard of before. There's a reason why you haven't heard of them before. Because they're talking nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why you haven't heard of them before. What's the problem? It's fine to tell original stories and drop a little or a lot here and there of fan service. Like, why not? And then, the one complaint that I actually am going to not fight people on, but you know what I mean, disagree with, is that they're like, well, why does it always have to be about the Skywalkers? Let me think. Let me paint this out, paint a picture for you. His father was in second command of the entire empire. Okay? His son saved the entire galaxy. How could it not have tie-ins with the Skywalkers at some point? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about the Skywalker family and the Skywalker saga. They basically were, they basically affected the entire galaxy. It's not like one planet or like a little town in the middle of God knows where. This is the entire galaxy. So, of course, there's going to be tie-ins. There's always going to be a tie-in, unless, of course, you go way before the Skywalkers, right? That's when you get into the Old Republic business, whatever. Now,
the High Republic. Yeah, that's
what I'm saying?
Too. Yeah.
And that's coming too. As for the one episode that I had with Grogu, if anybody doesn't know who Grogu is, you listen to the wrong show. It's Baby Yoda. Anyways, Grogu, when he was on the Seeing Stone, and I remember everybody was saying, who's he talking to? Who's he talking to? Who's he talking to? So, spoilers, everybody was speculating. They're like, nah, it can't be Luke. It's got to be like Ezra Bridger or Cal Kestis. Can't be Luke.
Or when the X-wing pulled up, I thought, okay, it's got to be Ahsoka. Maybe Ahsoka's coming.
See, I would.
As soon as that pulled up, I knew it was Luke.
I knew it was Luke. The minute, first of all, I knew it was Luke on the Seeing Stone, because you got to think about it like this. Don't think about it from like us. Okay, we're not the end all. Okay, or the hardcore fans, or the gaming fans, for example. You have to look at the people who are massive Star Wars fans who have never picked up one of those video games, or who's never watched, what's it called, the Star Wars Rebels or anything like that. Because then all of a sudden, let's say Ezra Bridger, like, you got to think about it like how Favreau and Filoni would think about it, right? All of a sudden, a ship comes in, everything's going crazy. Moff Gideon's on the ground giggling, and he's like, hey, you're all going to die. And then Ezra Bridger shows up, and everybody's like, who the hell is that guy? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people. Let me tell you something. My brothers, okay, they've been watching Star Wars since the late 70s. They don't know who Ezra Bridger is. My brothers are hardcore Star Wars fans. They don't know who Cal Kestis is. So if you did that, okay, it's got to be Luke. You know, and like I said, they're not going to pay. They're going to give homage to some random character, followed by a small minority of fans. You know, and like I said, Kestis shows up. Everybody's going to be like, "Who's this guy?" You know. So the point is, what you're going to do by doing that, it's going to deflate the situation by not putting Luke Skywalker. You know, when you add Luke to that, it adds that. Like, look at the tension. Okay, you see the tension building in that scene, and the music's kicking in, this and that. The droids are smashing on the door. Everybody's loading their weapons. And then Gideon's sitting there is like, you are all going to die. You know, and then the droids and, you know, they're slamming the door again. The Mandos are arming up. The music is swelling. And all of a sudden, beep, 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 beep. And then all of a sudden you see that single X-Wing approaching, you know, and then you look at like all these, then of course, when he comes in, you gotta know it's him. Now you don't know right away because they play with it a little bit because you're only seeing it from the security cameras. But, and boom, we talked about this before the show. The only person who reacted first was Gideon.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Moff Gideon was the first person to go.
You know, and it was crazy is he didn't even say anything, but the worried look in his face.
Exactly.
Was crazy. Like so you knew he was like, yo, we're in trouble.
Now we're in trouble because he knew what was up. And then, of course, when they finally flash over to who it is, you see the hand come out. And of course,
I knew it from the minute I saw the hand.
You see the black gloved hand.
Yeah.
Right. And then you see the lightsaber ignite. And by that point, I mean, if you don't know who it is, like, I mean, what are you watching? Right. A very interesting little side note, though, about the entire battle of Skywalker making his way up to the bridge. This is what I like to call the Favreau Filoni Star Wars moments. Okay. And these are the Star Wars moments that, they like to parallel, you know, like, you know how like every single Star Wars movie, it's gotta be, I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
Right. Or, you know what I mean? They say lines or whatever, and it all kind of ties. And there's a lot of parallels. For example, Luke in the hallway was almost exact, even though I thought Luke's was more badass, but it was exact. It was almost the same as his father in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Remember that?
When that scene was awesome.
Yeah. And like the music stops, everybody turns their attention to the new threat, and then all hell breaks loose. And then you got Vader cutting through rebels like hot butter. You know what I mean? And I mean, he was just like, you know, and then Luke did the same thing. And then you got Luke doing almost the exact same thing. And I'm like, yes, there it is. And there was a little thing that I did notice. Did you notice there was a bit of a dark side power there at the end when he gets to the last droid?
Oh, he just crushes it like it's like a tin can, dude.
Like Vader does.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and then maybe this is just me, but did you notice he also did it with his fake hand? He did it with the black gloved hand. He didn't do it with his real hand. He used the other hand and absolutely crushed that droid. I thought that was magnificent. Now, the other thing that was really cool, again, was when he finally gets there, they won't open the door. And Mando is the only one. And of course, Din Djarin, the actual Mandalorian there, he was the only one not afraid. He's like, all right, I'm going to let this dude in. Everybody's like, are you crazy? You can't let this guy in. He's a space wizard. You know, and the thing is, like, they're looking at it and they're like, well, there's so few left of them in the galaxy, you know, after Order 66, is that they basically have become a myth. Like, look at episode 7. I mean, it was they were laughing. They're like, Jedi, what the hell are you guys joking? Those are kid stories. They didn't realize that they were real. So to actually come across one, it must have been pretty damn terrifying. I mean, they couldn't even handle one of those droids. Look at Mando, couldn't even handle one. And then Luke just cut through the entire platoon by himself. Yeah, I'd be scared too.
Well, I mean, obviously those droids were like, I mean, you saw what they did. If you watch the episode, Mando got slapped around by one of those droids. Yeah. And all his tools of his trade, you know, the Songbird missiles, nothing worked. Nothing worked. He flamethrowed it. Nothing. It just was. I'll put it to this way: there is a lot to look forward to. But you know, let's get CMBR in here. CMBR for you. I don't know how invested you are into the Star Wars universe. What were your takeaways from the end of season 2 for Mando?
Yeah, that's a great question, Boom. I've loved Star Wars since I was a kid. I think Episode 1 was in the theaters when I was 11. And my uncle had showed me the original trilogy even before that. We got so excited about 1, 2, and 3. They didn't live up to exactly where we would have wanted them. And I'm in the same boat as you. Like 8 and 9, I just thought deflated really a lot of my love for the Star Wars. I enjoy the shows, but man, does this show, The Mandalorian, when you have a creative direction, sit down and plot out an actual story and hit beats, it can just lift this into the stratosphere. I've told a lot of my friends, like, The Mandalorian feels like Star Wars in a way no other show has felt like Star Wars in a long time.
Yeah.
And they just nail the feeling of what it's supposed to be. And it was interesting hearing you talk about these stories you've been seeing crop up where they were bemoaning fan service in The Mandalorian. And I thought, like, I never really got bothered in the way that I was bothered by, like, the Rogue One, where they throw the blue milk right in the middle of the screen. And it's like, hey, did you see this? Did you, are you looking at this? Are you catching this? Or the two guys from Mos Eisley Cantina that they bump into randomly on some planet in the middle of nowhere. It's just like, that's shoehorned in fans.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those instances where it's forced more so than it's there to organically be a part of the story.
Exactly. And then you think about, like, these Dark Troopers or Ahsoka. Like, these are earned story beats that get developed over 2 seasons. And then I love, like, the little touches that add to and build on Star Wars. Like, I was thinking back to when they started launching the Dark Troopers, and just sort of this synth electronic grunge music starts playing, which is just very not Star Wars. You think John Williams when you think Star Wars music,
right? Of course.
But to have that as, like, a juxtaposition with those droids coming to life, I thought, that really hits on something that you don't see unless you have a creative vision to bring a whole piece together in a way that I really felt like, those most recent movies, 8 and 9, just didn't hit. So that broadly speaks to how I felt about Star Wars. But then specifically to talk to this, I thought, Mag, you hit some really great points. The Luke, talking about Vader and how that mirrored each other. That was a big point for me. I really loved watching that. But can we just chat for a second on Pedro Pascal's emotional range? Like, when we watch him for 2 years add so much to a helmet, and then he takes it off, and just the look on his face when he's giving Grogu up to start training with Luke. I thought it's pretty, and I'm going to come to you next, Cyber, because I want you to talk about that. It's pretty incredible when you think about it, that Grogu is just a puppet, and the emotion that everyone felt. Like, I was watching, I don't watch any of these things without Mrs. Boom. Like, some guys are like, I'll sneak in and watch, and then I'll pretend I didn't see it with my wife. I felt like I would betray her because she's a big fan. So I watch it with her. But when Grogu touches his face, grown men were crying in their seats, bro. Okay. And I'm not saying that because if I cried, I'd be the first one to say it. I didn't, but I have goosebumps on top of goosebumps talking about this. I had 3 times the amount watching this. Like, it just was literally the best one episode of any genre-based content I have ever seen in my existence. And I certainly do not think it was overthought of. I think that everything was done to perfection. Cybernox, for you, the exact point where he does motion Mando to take his helmet off, which obviously was a big deal that we saw in the episode prior that he did, because obviously he's a foundling. Grogu's a foundling to him, and he was tasked in getting him to a Jedi to take over his training and bring him back to his people. But that instant where he's touching his face, just from puppet to Pascal's the performance was it was really touching.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I agree with what everyone has been saying so far. First off, like, this show, the production level on season 2 has been, like, so much better than season 1. Season 1 was great, but this season they went above and beyond. Like from the first episode, I was like, they stepped up the quality in this season in some type of way, and it showed throughout like each episode. I don't think this season I literally enjoyed every single episode. Like every episode hit for me. It was amazing. That last episode though, it was great. When he kind of when he was saying, when Groku and I sometimes I call him Goku because I know he's gonna hit Super Saiyan real quick. Okay, on the Luke, he's gonna hit Super Saiyan fast. But yeah, you can tell. You could like kind of like what you alluded to, Boom. Like the connection and the chemistry that you can see between like a puppet and what Mando does, like it was awesome, man. And then when he touches his helmet, he knows like, oh, let me touch your face, you know, because he's just like, yeah, okay. And the episode prior to that, I forgot Bill Burr's character's name, but he was mentioned when they were in the convoy, you know, and they're driving and then he's just shooting the shit or whatever, and then he tells them, yeah, we all have a line or a code that we want to run, that we get to until something happens that we have to kind of cross that line, but whatever we have to do to sleep at night or something like that, right? And then he was like, look at you and your helmet, you know, you're wearing a different helmet, so what does this say? Like, you know, I thought that was pretty clever too. But yeah, man, that this episode was really well done. Like I said, the production value was there. I didn't know it was gonna. I don't know if there was any other Easter eggs throughout the earlier episodes or during this episode, but as soon as I saw the X-wing come through, I was like, "Oh, that's Luke." I already knew. I think Luke is the only Jedi also that has an X-wing. I'm not 1,000% sure on that, but I think that might be the case. But as soon as I saw it, I told my wife, I was like, "Yeah, that's Luke." She already knew because she saw it on the social media, but she wanted to see my reaction to it. But yeah, man, that whole episode was it was awesome. Like the production value from the Dark Troopers, like everything to me, I thought it was really well done. And it's kind of like I think CMBR kind of mentioned on this. It's like when you have two people who really understand or have a creative vision and know what the fans want and knows how to, you know, make a quality show and giving the fans exactly or some of what they really want to see. It's, you know, it makes it probably one of the best Star Wars stories we've seen in a long time. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll say this: there's no doubt that Filoni and Favreau have literally saved Star Wars.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you this right now, and we know that that Kevin Feige, head of Marvel, is coming over to bring his knowledge to Star Wars, and to have those three men leading the charge for what is going to be Star Wars in the next 5 years is nothing short of exciting. So I don't want to spend, you know, too long on the topic because, you know, obviously there are people that are holding off listening to the show.
I'll just say one more thing. Yeah. How cool was it seeing Ahsoka, like Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka?
It's crazy.
It was awesome, dude. I was just like, holy shit. Yeah, man. Oh my, I was just like, wow, that was great, man.
Well, I mean, obviously it's the way when her performance was absolutely fantastic, and the fact that she had the two white lightsabers rather than it be the colored ones could potentially suggest that she received those from Anakin, right? So during the Clone Wars, I mean, they're calling it the Filoni verse for a reason, right? Obviously, we are going to just give our final thoughts, but you know, I'll go to Mag first on this. On closing of this particular opening topic for you, first of all, we haven't had many end of credits, you know, like secret endings. We did get one here, and wow, talk about an incredible way to say Boba Fett is back in a big way because he goes back to Jabba's palace. He runs into Bib Fortuna, which, by the way, if you don't know who that was the interpreter during Return of the Jedi for Jabba, who obviously is deceased. He took over. He's sitting in his throne. Got kind of thick there, letting over. Gained a couple of pounds there, and the Book of Boba Fett coming in holiday of next year, along with season 3, which are 2 separate entities, by the way. Talk about that for a second.
I will very quickly, and I just got one last thing I'll leave you with when I'm done this. The Bib Fortuna thing, by the way, I think I might be one of very few people that are actually questioning this. And maybe I'm just going to have to do suspension of disbelief, okay? Because Bib Fortuna, and I looked it up, I'm like, wait a second, isn't he already dead? And then
they didn't show him die on the skiff.
No, they didn't, but he's on it. Yeah. Because I went back and I watched Return of the Jedi yesterday, and there he is on Jabba's sail barge outside of the Sarlacc pit, and there's Bib Fortuna right next to Jabba talking, yapping away. And when that bloody thing exploded, the only thing that was left was R2 and 3PO in the sand. So I'm like, how the hell did Bib Fortuna survive? And so, anyways, like I said, I know they obviously know, but I mean, maybe they're just going to be like, you know what? We're just going to leave it alone, because it didn't really make a difference anyway, because Boba Fett came and threw him off the throne, so it didn't really matter. But I just thought that was a little thing. As for the Boba Fett situation, I'm really enjoying the idea of that, where I think that's going to go. Okay, hear me out. You remember how in Solo, a Star Wars story, which took place obviously years before, you remember they had Darth Maul was the head of the Crimson, the Crimson Guard or something? No, not Crimson Guard, whatever it is, the Crimson whatever. Okay, and I have a feeling, because he was like the king of the underworld, that Boba Fett might have to come into contact with him at some point. So I have a feeling that an older Darth Maul with the mechanical legs, who runs that other group of scoundrels and pirates and thieves and whatever. And now you've got Boba Fett, who is now the head of Jabba's palace and basically going to be like, the overlord of the underworld in that section of the world, at least in the Outer Rim there on Tatooine. So, at some point they might actually cross that over, and maybe they might come in contact with each other. So that was just a little interesting side note. I'm excited for that show. One thing that Ray said a little bit earlier, this is the only thing I was going to leave you guys with. A very interesting, touching scene, and I actually wondered about it. I'm like, I wonder what Luke was thinking when Mando was about to give Grogu to Luke. Without saying a word, they actually mimicked the exact same scene of Vader and Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi. You remember what? It's one of the last lines of the entire film, by the way, because the rest of the film is basically just music. Is that when Vader says, "Luke, help me take off this mask. I want to look on you with my own eyes."
Mm-hmm.
And he takes the mask off and they look at each other, whatever, right? Well, Grogu and Mando had almost the exact same scene happen, but without words.
Yeah.
And Luke is standing there watching it. So I'm wondering what's going on through Luke's head. He's going, shit, I just went through this with my dad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like 5 years before. I thought that was very touching. And I think I know how close to attention to detail they pay to, is that I think that was on purpose. And I think that was like a silent homage to that very touching moment at the end of Return of the Jedi, and then brought into this. But anyways, all in all, I'll stop talking, because we'll get back to gaming. But I just want to say, fantastic show. Can't wait for season 3, and can't wait.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How good did that CG look too, huh?
It was excellent.
Yeah, there were some people that had problems with it. Said it didn't look great. I thought it looked fantastic.
I thought it looked good.
I thought it looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Cyber, why don't you give us your final thoughts on the episode, the season finale?
Fantastic. Listen, once these guys told, because I hadn't watched it, I was waiting for the finale for me to binge it. And once Boom gave the word, hey, we're gonna be talking about this, I binged this in 2 days, real quick. Wow. So if you have Disney Plus, I highly recommend you watch this show. It was amazing from start to finish. Like I mentioned before, I don't want to take up too much time. The production value was amazing. The stories. If you're a fan of Star Wars, you're thoroughly going to enjoy this show. So please do yourself a service.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Do me a favor, Cyber. Just message both clowns and
you got
Tempest, let them know that we're going to be getting out of here. So, CMBR, your final thoughts on the season finale of The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I would just say I am excited for Star Wars in a way that I haven't been for a long time. I really hope that they continue with a lot of these practical effects and some of the new technology that allow the actors, kind of like that ILM magic screen instead of like just a green screen, so they can see what they're looking at real time, what they're acting against in these new shows, and then sort of the crossovers. Just more excited to be a Star Wars fan than I have been in a long, long time.
Yep, and that's a great point. And as a matter of fact, with all the announcements from last week's Disney investors meeting, you have 10 shows coming in the next 2 to 3 years, and they're all going to be on Disney Plus, and we are going to be treated to more of the Filoni-verse because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are going to be executive producing most of the programming, and that is a big deal. That means you're going to be getting high quality, high octane Star Wars fandom done right. And it's not going to be, I mean, again, we can go into a long list of why I think Kathleen Kennedy's time at Lucasfilm is coming to a close, but we'll save that definitely for another conversation. I do want to move on to the gaming part of the show. And hopefully, listen, folks, if you didn't like this, if this was somehow bothersome to you, like, you know what, boom, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't dig it. Please, I'm being serious. Like, be respectful, but DM me. My DMs are open for everyone. Leave a message on the YouTube message board and say, hey, boom, listen, you know what, this was a great addition, but it kind of pulled me out of the why I'm here. And again, if it's not hitting, we're not going to do it. But I thought that it would be something interesting. I mean, again, we don't have 300-400 people here. We're 150 people, which is pretty good. But maybe people are staying away because they didn't see it. Hopefully they'll be coming back. But let me catch up with some of the super chats, and then we'll get into the gaming aspect of tonight's show. The first one of the night comes in from a very generous friend of the show. Bounty Boom drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, at work listening. I haven't seen none of the season 2 yet. I was waiting for the season's finale to start binge watching. So boom, I'm not going to listen to your show until I watch it. Have a great day. Well, listen, you can come back now and you can check it out, brother. Definitely appreciate the generosity. Eagles fan 76 actually drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, can we just get rid of volume or episode 7, 8, and 9 so bad? They'll never redcon them. I can tell you that right now. And a lot of people are calling for that, but you just can't. We just have to live with how they destroyed Luke Skywalker and the rest of everyone else, and hopefully we can make through it with these new shows. But the friendly neighborhood Blue Shell drops an outstanding an outrageous $20 super chat and says, you should watch the final 4 episodes of Clone Wars. That was perfection. And at the point when I look back, that Star Wars start to turn back to what it should be. That's a great point. I have not seen the last season, but I definitely got to catch up on that. But let's Gaming Forte is here. Gaming Forte, I am so sorry, brother. You missed the whole Star Wars talk. I know that you're a big Star Wars.
You good. You ain't gotta. You guys all knocked it out the park. So.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, listen, dude. You know what? Welcome to the program. Hopefully, you are doing well. We're going to get into the second topic, and this one for me is a big one. Because if you didn't know, I'm kind of like a Capcom nerd. Big fan of Capcom. Have been since the NES 8-bit days. You know, a couple of weeks ago, Capcom got hacked. And they unfortunately had 350,000 individuals, including players, get their identity compromised to some extent. And the ransom obviously was one of the big things. Whoever hacked them, they obviously sent them a letter saying that, hey, listen, if you want us to, we have 1 terabyte worth of your information, and we're going to leak it to the world. And of course, you know, Capcom didn't. You know, you can't give in to terrorism, because that's really what it comes down to. But you know, we're not going to talk about so much the leak. What we're going to talk about tonight is not only what Capcom has done already since their huge comeback in 2017. It's what they have coming out in the next 4 years that's mind-boggling. as a lifelong Capcom fan, I think that everyone, you may not be as a big fan as I am. Right? Maybe Capcom, does fighting games for you better than someone else or whatever. Or maybe you're not into Resident Evil games because you don't like scary stuff. I don't know what to tell you. But I can tell you that the list that I'm about to read to you is a monster list. And again, this has been verified. This has come from the leak. Now, again, it is a leak, so take it with a grain of salt. But I'm going to read the list, and I'm going to get our panel to deliberate on how crazy this is. First of all, it has been confirmed through the leak that for the next 4 years, that's 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, Resident Evil fans are going to have a lot to cheer about. That's right, you are getting 4 Resident Evil games, starting with something called Resident Evil Outrage in the fourth quarter and holiday of 2021. You also have the Resident Evil 4 remake, which is coming out in 2022. You also have Biohazard Apocalypse coming out in 2023. That could be obviously a working title. And the last one, which is pretty interesting, is called Resident Evil. And I think that they misspelled it. It's supposed to be Resident Evil Hunk, meaning that there could be an entire game based on Mr. Death, known as Hank or Hunk from the obviously from Resident Evil 2, where he was one of the sole survivors of the Dr. Birkin attack. And if you beat the game multiple times, there was a survival mode where you had to make it to the helicopter at the end, and you had to do it in a certain amount of time with hardly any life or any rounds. It was very difficult, but a lot of fun. But let's break down some of these. You have Dragon's Dogma 2, which I think that Tempest Sun is going to have a lot to say on. Street Fighter 6, which has basically been confirmed that it's not going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. No, that is coming to the Xbox as well. And they have Onimusha, new work. Of course, it's a working title, so they're working on a new Onimusha, which is great. Monster Hunter 6, Super Street Fighter 6 coming out in 2023, which is the follow-up to, of course, Street Fighter 6 in 2022. Here's where it gets pretty interesting, though. Power Stone remake. I don't know how many people played Power Stone during the Dreamcast era, but my God, that was a fantastic fighting game. And, that rounds off the list, but there's one other one on here. Final Fight remake, folks. That's right. They're going to be bringing Final Fight back in a big way, and I'm sure it's going to be 2D, kind of like the Ghost and Goblins I'm not sure if it's Revival or Renaissance, but there's a new Ghost and Goblins coming out, which looks amazing. And I would imagine that Final Fight remake is going to probably be 2D and hand drawn. It could be 3D for what do I know, right? But I have to say, though, the one thing left off this list that has me a bit perplexed is no mention of Dino Crisis. Like, I am blown away. That is the one game that many people have been asking for, and unfortunately that has not been on the list. I don't know why. I know supposedly they were working on it and it just didn't work out and they scrapped the project. But let's go to let's get Gaming Forte on this. Gaming Forte, this is a massive leak, and this basically details their entire next 4 years. What are your thoughts on the leaked list?
So it looks really interesting. Like I said, the one thing that did stand out to me was Dino Crisis being, because especially when you get a list with that much stuff on it, you're like, well, what's missing from this list? And you just start thinking about stuff that was old that you haven't seen in a while that can be remade, especially since Capcom's going down this remake list. Dino Crisis was something that definitely stood out to me. But finally, knowing that their that Street Fighter is actually going to come back to Xbox is actually a really huge thing. It's been inside of the Sony wheelhouse all this last generation. So the fact that we're actually going to get one of the best fighting games that's ever been created on our platform again is something that can definitely be celebrated, and it's not locked behind the wall of just having to buy a PlayStation 5 and you can actually just own the system that you want to own to play it. I think that's a really good thing. knowing that Resident Evil is going to be continually going down the remake route, I think Resident Evil 4 is going to be freaking incredible. I can't wait to see what they do with those environments and stuff, to see how they reimagine like how it was when we played it like on the Dreamcast and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they actually do around that. And then the fact that they're actually got working titles with new Resident Evil games, and they just have a whole bunch of other stuff that they're working on, lets us know that they're all about basically broadening their portfolio, getting as many people excited for the games that's coming out, and they're giving people a nice roadmap to look forward to inside of the Capcom ecosystem, which a lot of developers, especially during these times of days, aren't really doing a lot of. It's like right now it's a lot of working from home, and let's get the projects out that we can actually work on and see what we can actually do to get that stuff out. But they're trying to tell you, like, not only are we going to have stuff for you next year, we got stuff for you in 2022, 2023, all the way out to 2024. So if you're down with Capcom, this is going to be one of a heck of a ride going through next generation. And we're finally going to show love to one of the platforms that showed love to us a lot during this generation, which was Xbox. And we're finally going to bring Street Fighter back over to that platform. So there's a lot of good things to pick from this. I'm really excited for the people that do like a lot of this stuff. I'm not the hugest Street Fighter fan, but the fact that I know a lot of people will be, and I'm definitely interested in that Street Fighter 4, what they're doing with the new IPs going forward. I think these are all really good things. You can't be mad at it. And guess what? With their partnership with Microsoft, who knows? Some of this stuff could end up in a nice little subscription service that, a lot of people are going to be subscribed to over the course of the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, listen, the stranger things have happened, and Capcom does have a good working relationship with Microsoft, so it wouldn't surprise me. Not at all.
Look, if Bungie can throw a $50 DLC and all the expansions in Game Pass day one, Capcom can do the same thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't see why not, to be honest with you. And again, Microsoft has worked with Capcom exclusively on a numerous amount of titles. And to see them do some marketing deals, potentially even sign some big deals as timed exclusives, it would not surprise me in the least. Let's Tempest Sun, are you back, sir?
Yep, I'm here.
Well, let's talk about Dragon's Dogma 2. One of your probably most anticipated games out of this list, but it is a stout list. Street Fighter coming back, Power Stone coming back, Resident Evil, Onimusha. But for you, I know that it is Dragon's Dogma 2. What are your thoughts on this leaked list?
For one, 2022 is still a good ways out, to be honest. But a year goes by so quickly, I was surprised to see that would be the targeted release date for it. For one, I'm just thankful that it's a thing at all, because the last one came out, I think 2011 or something like that. I believe it might have.
Yeah, it's been quite a bit.
Yeah, and they had a MMO only in Japan. Maybe it would have done better if it went elsewhere, but only in Japan. I hear it was really good, but then they shut it down. So I was over here thinking that they just weren't going to do anything with it. And lo and behold, a 2022 release date. Dragon's Dogma is something very special and unique. Because it was from a Japanese developer with a lot of those, maybe, I don't want to say just strictly themes, but just like gameplay. Normally when you play a Western RPG, like a Skyrim or, Fable, anything Western, it's very, it doesn't have a lot of like flash to it. It's very just, raw mechanics, storytelling, things of that nature. Well, Dragon's Dogma kind of broke the mold, and it was incredibly flashy. Magic wasn't just, pew pew, little fireballs. It was like massive fireballs. If you summoned ice, it just wasn't like an icicle. You like exploded the floor with ice, things of that nature. If you were a dagger user, it wasn't just simple stab, stab. You did like these full combos and everything else. It was very flashy. It felt like you were kind of playing like an open world Devil May Cry type of thing. And that's what I love so much about it. It was a different take. It was a lot of the Japanese sensibilities, but in a Western RPG. And I absolutely adored it. The classes were fantastic. How much you could customize them. They had like hybrid classes that were really, really cool. I just can't say enough good things about it. The pawn system, I love that. You get to create your character, then a pawn, and other people could rent your pawn. So, I mean, this is all old news for people that have played it before. But if you haven't, it's a brilliant, brilliant game. I can't be excited enough. A new one's coming out, to be honest with you. And like I said, that release date isn't too far out. And I think it's a game that would, more so than a lot of other games, really benefit from the newer hardware. And the reason I say that is because one of the biggest draws I didn't even mention is the climbing mechanic on large monsters. The large monsters are the draw of the game. You have wyverns, dragons, worms, cyclopses, all kinds of things, and hydras, and you climb on them and you get a different set of attacks for climbing. And the monsters, I think, with the newer hardware, just think about how cool that would be if you're in a forest. You mount a big dragon or something, and he's breaking trees apart, ramming into mountains, causing destruction. I don't know. To me, the sky's the limit. That magic that I mentioned that is so like robust and huge, it could be even bigger. So I don't know, man. That game was such a treat. And you know how much I love Resident Evil. I've spoken before how much I love Street Fighter. But when I saw that was like my, ooh, I was like, yes. I was like, okay, that's something I can get behind for sure. So, yeah, that's my take on it. The list in general is fantastic, except for one major oversight, and that's No Code Veronica. My second most anticipated game, if you will, from Capcom would be a Veronica remake as opposed to 4 or some of the other games they have on there. But Dragon's Dogma 2, man, that's got me pretty excited for what it could be. So.
All right. Well, I mean, obviously, it's a game. Listen, there's a lot to get excited about. I don't mean to pile up the show with a car crash and stop, but someone has something beeping in the background. It sounds like almost like a fire alarm is like.
Oh, you know what, Boom? That's probably me, dude. Yeah, that's me. It just went off. My bad. Okay, I'll see if I can get rid of it.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it, brother. No problem. So let's get CMBR on this. Capcom, does it mean it? What does Capcom hold for you as a developer for gaming? I mean, obviously, this leak. I mean, the leak is great. No one's going to deny the leak is great. Unfortunately, people's identities were potentially stolen with this hack, but obviously the hack removed from the conversation. What are your thoughts on these ridiculous amount of games coming out for the next 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of developers would be excited to have this as their pipeline and to be able to hit these dates. There's just, it's kind of like you had touched on earlier, Boom. Capcom has such a storied history and some great franchises. Obviously, Resident Evil is the headliner. I'm super pumped to hear Street Fighter is coming to Xbox. That's my preferred platform to play.
Mine too, yeah.
So that's got me excited. The potential of these things. You guys already touched on this, Forte, Tempest. The hitting Game Pass would be huge. I was a little bummed not to see a Dead Rising. I know that franchise has gone through a lot of bumps since, I think it was Dead Rising 3 came out, and then 4, and I think they shut down Capcom Vancouver. But that's a franchise I have a lot of fond memories playing 1 and 2 way back in the day. And then it would have been fun to hear maybe something in the Okami vein as well.
That'd be nice.
Capcom has. So phenomenal games are going to be coming out. It's spoil of riches, and you kind of feel a little ashamed wanting even more, but I think that speaks to the power that Capcom has just as a sort of a game publisher. And it's excited to see them. I'm excited to see them kind of building some more ties with Xbox and just increasing the accessibility to these games. And then, the more success people see in Game Pass, kind of the broader development dollars get put into games that sometimes wouldn't get made. You've heard Microsoft execs talk about that. So maybe catching some traction there, you could see some investment in these franchises that aren't on the list, like you'd mentioned, the Dino Crisis and some of the other ones that just kind of aren't in the pipeline. But at the same time, I am super excited to see some of these Resident Evil hits make. And I had so much fun with RE4, just seeing a ground up remake on that one that got the love and care that RE2's remake did. I'm super excited to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you are a diehard Capcom fan, you're going to find that this list is incredible. Which, by the way, I missed one, Rockman or Mega Man, coming out in 2022, a new Mega Man, which is crazy because we haven't had one, I think, since 11 came out, and that was a couple of years ago. Listen, again, I think that even if you are not a huge Capcom fan, you can walk away from this list with 2 or 3 games and be like, you know what? I remember playing this said game, and I could definitely jump back into it. Let's get Cybernox into the conversation. Cyber, what jumps off this list for you as a fan of Capcom, and more importantly, is it crazy that we know what's coming out? Again, folks, take it with a grain of salt, but we kind of know what's coming out for the next 4 years. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a little surreal, right? Like you have their all their games already lined up. You have so it's actually, I was looking at this list and then you said like, oh, Resident Evil 4 remake. I was like, oh, that's coming out. I was like, I feel like Resident Evil 4 just came out. Oh no, that's 2005, 15 years ago. It's like, holy shit, Jesus. But yeah, it's an impressive list, man. It seems like it's got something, like for everyone there is kind of hitting a bunch of different genres. I will say I will be in accordance with Ray here. I'm surprised I didn't see Dead Rising on this list. I was like, with next gen hardware, oh my God, they could have done so much with that franchise. Maybe, reboot it, a little soft reboot, or continue the story somehow. Kind of like what they've done here with Resident Evil. And I was surprised. I was a little surprised that it was not on this list. But kind of like you said, right? You got to take this list with a grain of salt. Maybe there are more things behind the scenes that we don't know of. But yeah, I'm always intrigued to see Street Fighter, because that was like one of my very first games ever. Like I was a little kid, and that's how my brother introduced me to like video games. It was like it was with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. So that always holds a near and dear part in my heart. But Resident Evil for me, for sure. Like, you guys know how I feel about that series. I love that horror genre, and yeah, man, it's an impressive list. I would have loved to see Dead Rising on here, but it's not. But nonetheless, you see their map, their guidelines for what they're going to be doing within the next few years. So, and also the potential of coming into Game Pass, right? They've had a tremendous relationship with Microsoft. You see, they still have Monster Hunter in there. They had
Devil May Cry. They had quite a few.
They had so many games. They had like the whole Resident Evil franchise at one point.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm sure some of these games hopefully will be coming to Game Pass too, which will hopefully broaden their audience as well, and expose these games to more and more people. So I'm excited, man.
Yeah, and there's a lot to get excited about. Again, this is one of the reasons why. I mean, I know that it's a moot point, and we haven't heard anything. Obviously, if you remember, we went into it about a month ago about how Capcom was rumored to being looked at by Microsoft. And I got to be honest with you, I still in my wish jar, if you will, hope that they would buy them out. Because if you just look at this list, could you imagine if all of those games were Xbox exclusives? It would be ridiculous. Let's get Clowns into the conversation. Clowns, for you, as someone that has a classic and older gamer like myself, what jumps off the page on this leaked list of games coming out for the next 4 years for Capcom? I don't know. Is Clowns back? No, maybe he's not back.
There we go. Okay,
right.
I had my mic muted there for a second. Well, I just got to go back here real quick because I know there was a lot of stuff that I was really excited for on this list, to be honest with you. I mean, some of them I kind of figured would come out eventually, but now that it's really definitely confirmed, like Final Fight Remake. I mean, how exciting is that, man? You remember those days, boom in the
Oh, I
arcades,
sure
right?
do. Yep.
Oh, I still got the arcade one-up cabinet too for that, so I'm really excited for that remake, and I'm curious if it's going to end up looking like Streets of Rage 4 or something, because I would be extremely happy to see it more modernized. That's fantastic right there. Ultra Street Fighter 6, I'm very curious if that's going to be like a Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition or something, but with Street Fighter 6. So I'm really curious about that. Monster Hunter 6, very excited for that because I like the last Monster Hunter we got. That was cross-platform. I was very excited about that. Resident Evil 4 remake. This gives me confidence that we're going to see more Resident Evils, and I know a lot of Resident Evil fans are going to disagree with me, but my favorite was Resident Evil 5, so I am excited. The fact that we might actually get Resident Evil 5 sometime in the next 5-6 years, so that's really exciting. Mega Man, I'm very curious about this one, right? Like, how are they gonna redo this? Is this gonna be like a reboot, or is this gonna be from Mega Man 1, just redone as a platformer? So very curious to see how this one plays out, because Mega Man played a big part in my childhood. I had every single Mega Man growing up, even for Game Boy, and that is one iconic character that I can actually relate to, and back then when I was a kid, I had feelings for Mega Man. Like, I thought he was like the coolest dude in the universe, saving everybody. So looking at this list, I'm really excited, and I just kind of want them to just say, you know what, it's already leaked. Let's show you what we got so far that looks good, and we'll just throw it out there. I just want to see this stuff now. Like, it's just bringing that out in me. Like, can I just play Mega Man Remake, please? Can I play Ultra Street Fighter 6, please? Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, as someone that really enjoys the Japanese culture from afar and up close, seeing the fact that they're bringing back Onimusha, again, I don't know if it's for all we know, it could be a Resident Evil 2 kind of a thing where they just redo the original, which I'm okay with. I don't necessarily need a new one. I would definitely take a remake, which is why I really want Dino Crisis to receive the same treatment. Hopefully that does happen one day, because I think Dino Crisis, out of all of the survival horror games, is one that the fans have been really asking for. Again, surprised that it's not on this list. But Mag, let's close out this particular topic with what you have to say. This is a big leak, and obviously no one is happy that it happened, because people had potentially their identity frauded. We don't know. 350,000 people is a lot of people, but this list did make the papers, and a lot of the trades reported on this. What are your thoughts on the games listed coming out in the next 4 years?
Well, I am very excited about that. I know it's a bit, just like you just said, it's a bit of a bittersweet moment. I mean, some people's information had to be compromised, unfortunately, and I do feel bad for them because I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. And but I mean, at the same time, like I said, bittersweet. Then we ended up finding out what the roadmap is for the next 3 to 4 years, right? So I'm looking at it. And before I even get to my actual serious thoughts, I saw Onimusha. I thought it said New Walk. And I'm like, it better not be an Overcooked expansion. But anyways, in all seriousness, I was I swear to God, I looked it over. I go, does that say New Walk? And I'm like, my God, I need glasses. I'm getting old. Onimusha was one of my absolute favorite games next to Resident Evil from Capcom in the 90s.
Yeah.
I played the living hell out of every single one of the Onimusha games. I fell in love instantly with them. I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the setting. I loved the stories. Except for some of the, the girls screaming, I Samanosuke! But, whatever. It was fine. I even loved the one with Jean Reno. Remember that one was
that was great, dude. Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Huge hammer. Bang! And he used to slam the hammer down. I love those games. So if they can give that a full next gen treatment, and I'm talking like not a remake, like they're talking like an actual, whether it's going to be a sequel or whether it's going to be a complete reboot, whatever they're going to do, I'm in 100%. Another thing is Resident Evil Hank. I think you're absolutely wrong. My insiders are telling me that it's Tom Hanks in a mansion in the woods. And he's escaping from a deranged Tim Allen. That's confirmed, by the way, from my inside sources. So that's the new Resident Evil game.
I'd actually pay to see that, to be honest with you.
But, anyways, for the Resident Evil, I am a little bit sad because we know that Resident Evil 8, of course, is coming out presumably this spring, which is my number one, as it stands right now, my number one anticipated game of 2021. Because the other ones that I think that are coming, like God of War Ragnarok, I don't think is coming 2021.
Nah.
One is Battlefield 6. I'm excited for that, but we'll see how that goes. And of course, Halo. Yeah, so I'm a little sad that I didn't see Resident Evil 9 or even being in development or anything. Like, they didn't mention anything. So I think maybe they're going to take a break and go with a couple of these remakes. I'm excited for a Resident Evil 4. That's going to be amazing. I played it through. Actually, they just had a remaster on the Xbox One not that long ago. And it was just up-resed a little bit and whatever.
Yeah, I played through it. It definitely suffered from the even though it was better than the regular tank controls, but it's still, if they're gonna do it right and they're gonna give us the controls of the remake 2 and 3, we're in for a treat.
And we're in for a treat. Yes, because even in that remake, I found myself fighting the controls.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're fighting the controls, you're fighting the camera. And I don't want to do that. And if you know what? Again, I have full faith. I mean, look at what they've given us so far. Resident Evil 7, in my opinion, masterpiece. That was my game of the year in 2017. Then we move on to Resident Evil 2 remake, masterpiece. Resident Evil 3, a little bit shorter, but still no less than a masterpiece. Great game. So I'm excited for everything Resident Evil that's coming out from them. Street Fighter 6, I would prefer to play that on Game Pass because I think my Street Fighter days are kind of over. I mean, I probably could have put a down payment on a house with all the quarters I used in Street Fighter 2 in the arcades in the 90s. And then, by the time Street Fighter 3 came on, I kind of grew out of the arcade situation. They were dying off, and I never really got into them on the console side of things. It was mostly an arcade thing for me. Now, there's one that you mentioned. Now, this is the one I'm surprised nobody else on the panel even touched on, is the Power Stone game.
Oh, dude, I'm super stoked for that. Power Stone 1 and 2 on the Dreamcast were incredible, dude.
Right. And I remember, first of all, I remember those games, but I didn't remember them that well. I go, let me go check it out. So I went back on YouTube and I watched some of the videos. And man, if you think about the capabilities of these new machines and the new console hardware for both sides, Sony, Microsoft, and of course PC, and then you think about the architecture of that game, Power Stone. This was not a straight 2D fighter or even a 3D arena fighter, a la Mortal Kombat 4 or Battle Arena Toshinden or any of those kind of games. This actually had multiple levels. It had it had actual verticality to it. So you can actually jump up onto higher levels and platforms and stuff and kind of jump around, sort of like a Super Smash Brothers kind of idea, right? And I'm like, can you imagine the possibilities with the next gen hardware and all that kind of stuff, being able to utilize, let's say, the backgrounds or the environments as they do in some of the other, what the hell is that, the bloody game, Injustice. Remember that? Injustice,
yes.
You kick Superman through a bus and then he goes through 8 buildings and then, whatever, lands in outer space and an asteroid hits him in the face. You could do stuff like that with this Power Stone game, and I think that'd be really successful. But, I mean, it doesn't have a huge following, so I don't expect anything massive. But if they make a really good game, people will come to a very good game. So I'm really, out of that entire list, nothing surprised me. I'm not a Monster Hunter player, but the Power Stone one is the one that's really got me intrigued because I'm like, that's something different that I'd like to see them tackle, as opposed to what we're used to seeing them tackle, right? The Resident Evils, the Monster Hunters, the Street Fighters. Let me see them take on this different IP and see where they can go from there. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, and again, there really is something here for everyone, which is pretty, again, as a lifelong Capcom fan, I am stoked to know that Capcom has plans for 4 years, folks. I mean, again, take it with a grain of salt. Things could change, and they could change because this list is out. But man, we're going to be in for a lot of Capcom goodness, if you will. I do want to move on to the next topic. Now, this is a topic I was a little hesitant to talk about because it's getting a little long in the tooth, but again, it's one of those topics that you just can't ignore. And of course, I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077. Now, if you are an Xbox Series X owner, you have the new console. There are a load of people playing that game to its fulfillment and enjoying it, having very little complications with bugs. But again, we're not going to talk about the bugs. We know about the bugs, but there is a particular one that just started wreaking its ugly head, if you will, on social media and through the trades. And in a story that I pulled from Dual Shockers, which again, this is a bit of a head scratcher, folks. Apparently, they're reporting that Cyberpunk 2077 saves will permanently be corrupt if they reach 8 megabits in size. And wow, I don't know if what I would do. See, I don't have the game. My collector's edition, whether you call it lucky, it's one of those, oh, boom, you dodged a bullet, got either stolen or grew legs and walked away. I never got it, so I got a refund for it, which is fine. At this point, I'm just playing so many games that, adding Cyberpunk to the mix, you know what, I'll get it when it's $30, especially considering that it has this many issues. But according to GOG.com support center, regarding this, they're reporting that, and they say this: unfortunately, the save is damaged and cannot be recovered. Please use an older save file to continue playing and try to keep a lower amount of items and crafting materials. If you have used the item duplicating glitch, please load a save file not affected by it. Apparently, that could be one of the issues causing this massive glitch. The save file limit might be increased in one or of the future patches, but the corrupted files will remain that way. I don't even know where to go with this. I'm not playing the game. Let's go to Cybernox first on this. Cyber, look, I don't know how many hours you have invested in Cyberpunk 2077, but it is a massive game. And
Right.
with everything that there's been going on with CD Projekt Red, this is a sinking ship. And I'm not saying that, look out, CD Projekt Red is going bankrupt, but we already have word that there's a class action lawsuit, not with the gamers, but with their own board members for fraud about the game. And again, we're not going to get into the legal beagle stuff of this because I don't have all that information in front of me, and that was just reported. But this is another black eye. I don't know how many black eyes you can have on a face, but they seem to be getting it almost every day, every 24 hours. How many hours have you put into Cyberpunk? And more importantly, what if this happened to you? Would it completely just make you not play the game?
So I'm on its infancy still. I've only done a couple of missions. I'm still in the prologue, and there's a lot to do there already. But I was running into a few things, and then I just said, you know what, let me wait a little bit. There, I'm sure they're gonna come up with a few patches, and then I'll try this game out. I will say that I am the type of player that I'll look everywhere. I'll go to every single question mark. I'll scavenge everything. I'll hoard a lot of things, and then I don't know. I was actually asking Kirby on the chat, if a megabyte 8 megabytes was a lot for a save file, and yeah, man, I don't know. There's just something to it. It seems like, unfortunately, and I was talking to Tempest on my channel last week, like CD Projekt Red made one of my favorite games this gen, which is The Witcher 3. And I feel so bad for those guys, right? Because it seems like every news that are coming out right now for Cyberpunk is bad news, right? And imagine if you're someone that has, I don't know what entails how big that save data contains, but if you're someone who's got, I don't know, 100 hours into the game, and you've looted multiple things, and you've crafted so many items, and then after a certain patch you can't load your save because it passes that threshold, it'll be devastating. To me, it kind of, it just like it just makes me think, hey, maybe I should just wait for this, for all of these patches to come through, so until the game is fairly stable across all these platforms. And yeah, man, it would be a little bit of an eyesore in my eyes, but I just feel bad for CD Projekt Red right now, the developers, because they've put their hearts and souls into this, and it seems that every time they're trying to move one step forward, they're going two steps back. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit and see. But yeah, it would hurt me a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think that again, I'm in a position that I am thoroughly enjoying Immortals. I just got done playing through Hive Busters, which if you have not played that DLC for Gears 5, I don't know what you're waiting for. It is, my goodness, it's probably one of the best DLCs in years. It makes me wonder if Microsoft should have used this as a launch title for the Series X, because it looks absolutely stunning. I mean, the Coalition really, really does an amazing job. The storytelling is fantastic. I mean, it's not a long DLC. I would say if you're like me and you're like looking through everything, trying to find every collectible, you could probably sink 8 or 10 hours into the DLC. But I am not interested in even attempting CD Projekt Red's supposed masterpiece at this point. But let's bring somebody else into the conversation. Let's bring our guest in, CMBR. Are you playing Cyberpunk 2077? And what are your thoughts on this latest report that if you have 8 megabits of data more than actually more than 8 bits of megabits of data, you could lose or corrupt your save?
Yeah, boom. I guess when it rains, it pours, right? One little disclaimer, I'll say up front. I know we don't get too much into the legal talk on this show, but I am a shareholder in CD Projekt Red, so I do.
Oh, well, that's pretty interesting, dude. I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, they're down like 45%.
Yeah, it's outrageous. Yeah. I saw it when it was down 37. I did not know it went up to as much as 44. That is that is bleeding that they just can't seem to stop.
Yeah, it's tough for that corporate entity, and I really do. My heart goes out to the developers at the subsidiary CD Projekt Red, because I know those guys put a lot of effort into making some great games. And I have my copy for the Series X. I've played one Life Path, the Corpo. I kind of got started, and I was just hitting a couple of the bugs coming out of that, and I thought, I'm going to wait, because I want to experience this thing full force. I want to go 100 hours deep, kind of like I was able to with The Witcher 3. And yeah, it's not a good look if your save file can get permanently corrupted, because not everybody's attuned to news cycles. I feel bad for the players who miss this, get 60 hours into a game and lose everything. That's just so deflating. I've had that happen in the past with different games, and it really sours you, or at least it does for me, for months on coming back to a game. So I'm hoping they figure this stuff out. I think that really the game should have been delayed probably about a year to give those developers really the time that they needed to. I think the management, so the two co-founders, and I guess one of them is a cousin. So the three guys who really own lion's share of the stock, about 40%, really focused in on the PC side, because that's where they started. We're a PC developer. GOG started that way. They were a Polish localization team, and then they started the Red development cycle for the PC. I think they got too tunnel visioned onto that, because you look at some of the videos with that running DLSS on an NVIDIA 3090, and it's just like mind blowing what that game looks like. Yeah. So I'm hopeful they can turn it around. I just feel bad. It's just a bad situation all around. It's bad for the consumers, it's bad for the developers, and it's looking like it's really bad for the board.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's pretty sad to hear that they are. I mean, they're getting it from every end. I don't even know how. If you are on this team and you've been working on this game for 8 years, which is as long as we believe that they've been working on it, to see a game release the way this has. Look, again, I've said this before. I've been gaming since 1978, folks. You know, I've been around a bit, the block a couple of times. And I have in my life not seen any kind of controversy. I mean, you can go all the way back to E.T., you know, for the Atari 2600, where that was obviously a disaster. The most recent one, I think, that you can compare that a lot of people were unhappy with and still are is Anthem by BioWare. But I don't recall a game releasing not even 2 weeks ago and is constantly in the news for more water just pouring in this sinking ship. I don't know. I mean, the big question is, you know, a year from now, are we going to be talking about CD Projekt Red? Are they going to be around? I can't say. I'm not going to sit here and even suggest that the entire team is just going to be dissolved. But man, this is pretty bad, and this comes on the heels of already bad news from everywhere. Let's get Tempest Sun in on. Tempest Sun, you are really having a good time with this game. You have spent a significant amount of time playing it. You have a ridiculous amount of time invested. This bug is something to be afraid of, because if you are, you said you're on the cusp of beating it. You're almost at the point where you cannot. Once you go forward, that's it. What are your thoughts on this bug?
All right, first of all, I looked everywhere for a battery. I couldn't, so this fire alarm won't shut up, so I apologize. As far as the bug goes, yes, I am like 60-something hours, almost 70 hours in. Past the point of no return. I did a lot of what they say could trigger the bug. I haven't had an issue. I feel a lot of people that are having the issue, I'm not going to be a white knight here and just like, oh, it's not a problem, because it is a huge problem. They should be able to do whatever they want to. And if there's a glitch or an exploit, it's their fault that it's in the game to begin with. So even if people are exploiting something, it's something that they could hot fix and take away the exploit, so it's not an issue. But apparently it's a bigger issue when you use the exploit and duplicate and craft like thousands of items, and it bloats your game incredibly quick. So I'm not saying it wouldn't happen to you if you just like playing slow and methodical and just get everything, you know. It could still happen. Either way, it's a horrible, horrible, horrible bug. I don't know how widespread it is. I don't think it's super widespread yet. I mean, maybe as people take their time and they find themselves 120, 30 hours in, you know, maybe it could be an issue, which would be the worst case scenario because you have that much time into it. As far as me in the game, I haven't been able to speak too much publicly about it. It's shaping up to be one of my favorite games, period. And I can sit here and objectively say that it's not perfect. I've seen some bugs. I am playing on a Series X, and the performance mode, you know, it was super blurry to the point where I was debating playing quality. But then 2 days after the game came out, they patched it, and they took the upper bounds of the resolution on performance mode to 1800p. So it looked significantly better with just one patch. And I'm just enjoying it. The stuff that it lacks, the stuff that it doesn't have, like in this kind of game, ask yourself, why can Geralt go get a clean shave and a new haircut? But in Cyberpunk, which is all about the fashion and how you look, you can't, right? Like there's no way you can get your hair did, you know? Yeah. So that's, you know, like an oversight, or they just didn't have time. I don't know what happened. I don't believe they've been making this game for 7 years. There's nothing to suggest that this game has been made for 7 years. One criticism I guess I do have is I thought I was going and doing the story in a reasonable amount of time. I was kind of sandbagging it, you know, just like not wanting to do it because I didn't want the game to end. And I did a bunch of side content. That bunch of side content got me to the hours that I'm at now. It was like 60 plus. Come to find out, I look into it, I did most of the meaningful and in-depth side quests, if you will, the ones that people talk about as being really good, and they are really good. So with that said, I found out I did most of the really important stuff. Now there is, trust me, there is 40 to 50 hours more of just the gigs, they call them, like the little tiny things that only have a few lines of dialogue or a text message or something like that. That's the bloat, if you will. That would be the I lost my leg in,
Right.
other games.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all I have left. So
Uh,
be honest with you, I don't see 7 years worth of content. I don't know. This is pure speculation, but just like we saw, like the likes of Mass Effect Andromeda, where they had 5-6 years to make a game, but you find out somehow they only started production a year before the stupid thing came out. Right? I'm not saying that's what happened here, but they weren't working on this game for 7 years. There's not enough content in it to suggest that they've been making it for 7 whole years. That just doesn't fly, especially when Witcher 3. A criticism with that game is the story was too long. You're talking 60, 70 hours of just pure story. That's not even accounting for the side content, right? So I don't know what happened with the game, but what it did do right, to me personally, it did it so right, and I love it so much that this game is kind of my next Mass Effect. And I do sympathize for the base console owners. I really sympathize for them because they could like the game just as much as I do, and they don't really have that chance yet. And it's a mess. It's a shame. It really is. I want everybody to be able to enjoy it as much as I do, and not many people can right now because it is heavy on PC too. You need to have a pretty beefy PC to play it like you could on something like the Series X. So I love this game so much. I hope they figure out what they need to figure out very, very quickly, because I want this game to get the same love and support that Witcher 3 did. And things are so bad right now. I don't even know if that's a possibility. I don't know if they're going to wipe their hands of this. I don't see how they can. I feel like they need to make good on this, but I absolutely love it. And I understand its issues and it sucks, but it's been nothing short of amazing for me. So yeah, that's my take.
yeah, they're still doing updates for The Witcher too, right? So like there's supposed to be even a next gen version for the Series X still.
Right.
So
yeah, I know, and that's
still
years.
working
It's
on that
5 years
game as
later.
well.
So
yeah, exactly.
That's true.
So if you're looking for the support for Cyberpunk, I'm pretty sure it's still going to be there. It's just how long is it going to take for them to get that game?
I don't expect them to do anything but work on the current gen, and that's going to be a big problem. Everything that they are working on, or they promised next gen patches for the Cyberpunk, it's not going to none of that's going to come to fruition for quite some time. But let's get Clown's opinion on this. Clowns, I don't know if you started it yet. Cyberpunk 2077, but if you did, and if you are playing it, does this bug concern you? Clowns, you're on mute again, brother.
Damn, I'm on a roll today. So let me say this. I love Cyberpunk 2077. I am playing on the Series X. I'm not having the issues that, the older gen consoles are having. So I'm with Tempest Sun in my experience. The game works. Yes, there's issues. Now, the save file thing, it definitely concerns me because I have about 80 hours in the game. I have tons and tons of crafting material. I beat the game twice, going for all 5 endings. And my inventory is so overcrowded just because of all the junk that you collect. So if I end up running into the save bug, I'm going to be very upset if I have to go back to like an older save. Now, I will say this. The game does do autosaves periodically. So sometimes like your last save could be like 15 minutes or 20 minutes ago, which is not too bad compared to, the Watchdog issue. But I would be very disappointed, let's say, that if the game did glitch or crash from the save issue, and then all of a sudden my last save was like an hour ago, and I have to go back and do all my side quests again. I'm going for 100% completion on this and 100% achievements. And I really do feel bad for the devs. I think, the devs wanted to put out a decent product. I think they did a fantastic job so far. I do believe that the game probably has been in development for about a decade because there's so many side quests that you could pick up, and there's so many character lines and so many voice actors in this game that it's ridiculous. And depending on how you do your side quest, I mean, each story arch is a little bit different. So your choices do make a difference in some of these side quests and the outcome. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just overall a fantastic game. And, Ray, I'm sorry for you because I know that you said that you're a stockholder. So I do feel bad for what, you might be going through right now. I just hope that everybody gives the devs at CD Projekt Red a chance to redeem themselves. They redeemed themselves with The Witcher 3 when that had issues and came out and fixed it. I don't think the devs themselves did anything wrong or intentional. I think the game was really pushed out too soon by upper management. I think they put too much pressure on the devs to get this out. And coming from a big heavy studio like CD Projekt Red, those devs are considered like rock stars, right? So they definitely did not want their reputation ruined. This is definitely not on the devs. And I give it some time. I think they'll patch that, the save issue. They'll probably take away the inventory glitches that people are using and the unlimited money glitches by then. But hopefully they just continue pushing out the patches as fast as they can once they know that it works. And this, I'm going to say this, despite all the bugs and despite the glitches and the problems, this is my game of the year so far.
Wow, that's saying something.
That's my game of the gen, bro. Like, I can't stress enough how much I absolutely adore it, clowns. Like, I really do. It's just, it sucks that they're having these issues, dude.
Wow.
It's a fantastic game, man. And you know what? Also keep in mind that this was probably a pretty heavy budget game, and it probably did take some time to get Keanu Reeves' all his lines in there because he is a bigger part of the game than most people might allude to. And I'm sure with the schedule like his that might be busy, it probably does take a while. So I mean, people listening, if you have older gen consoles and you don't have the next gen consoles, wait. I would say wait until you get a next gen console, or wait until they can confirm that it's 100% working on older gen consoles. But this game really deserves your chance. If you like good RPGs and good story games, it really deserves your love, attention, and chance. And I just hope that the devs can redeem the game before anything serious happens to like the management. It's a bad call overall, and I just feel really bad for all the people involved. The devs definitely don't deserve the hate that they're getting right now.
You know what? We're never going to really know exactly what happened behind the scenes, whether or not this game was for all we know. The head of the development team could have said, "Listen, we have to delay this game indefinitely." Now, obviously, I think it's safe to assume that COVID played a massive role in this game being the way it is. And there are people calling that this should have been delayed at least a year. Makes you really smile inside. Not that this is happening to CD Projekt Red, but from a Microsoft point of view, them delaying Halo Infinite for a year makes me go like this. We dodged the bullet there, folks, because man, Microsoft gets hate just turning over and waking up in the morning. CD Projekt Red, folks, you got to understand something. What has happened here is unprecedented, unlike anything we've ever seen. Ask anybody whether you're into The Witcher 3 or not. The media darling of the gaming industry is, or should I say, was CD Projekt Red for all of their, the way they treat the community, giving free DLC for 21 weeks in a row when Witcher 3 came out, and the way that they have, they promised the Witcher 3 next gen upgrade for free, the Cyberpunk 2077, the upgrade free. Don't worry, you don't have to buy the game twice. And now this happens, and I gotta tell you, man, I mean, talk about kicking a dog when it's down. I mean, a lot of people in this industry, especially in this community, have turned on CD Projekt Red because they had these problems. And I do admit, I do think it's unfair. Let's get Mag in on the conversation. Mag, listen, this is a bad situation, no matter how you turn. And I don't know where the end of the light of the tunnel is for them as a developer. But this newest, bug, if you will, that everyone seems to be reporting on about corrupting your save it could be the last straw for many gamers. What are your thoughts on what's going on, dude?
Well, this bug, I just want to address this bug first and foremost here, just to answer the question directly. I did read what they said. They said, unfortunately, the save is damaged and can't be recovered. Please use an older save file to to keep a lower amount of items and crafting materials. How am I supposed to keep an eye on that? Like how? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's almost like one of those survival games. It's like, oh, I can only carry 8 bottles of water in my knapsack or whatever. Right? You know what I mean? And then like now all of a sudden it's turned into a survival game in real life because now I could lose my save file permanently. But guess what? Let me just click on here. Let me see. Click. Okay, I have logged in 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds into Cyberpunk, so I'm okay. So I am totally fine with it because I have so many games to play that I've decided to not even turn it on. So I've said, you know what? I'll wait. I have no issue with that. I am literally neck deep in games because when I got all the consoles in the a month and a bit ago, I bought everything. And so I'm digging through these games now. Magnificent experiences, all of them. And so why am I going to turn on Cyberpunk? You know what I mean? I've got like 11 games on the go. I'm not going to bother. Yeah. So, and by the way, another one I haven't even touched for multiple reasons, especially on the Xbox Series X and the Xbox One, is Call of Duty. I played Call of Duty with some community members on the second day it launched. I have not turned it on since, specifically because I heard about all the crashes and all the nonsense and all of this and all of that. And yes, I have the proper one downloaded. I have the next gen one downloaded. I paid the extra $10, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, the point is, let this be a lesson, okay? Every negative thing, there's always something positive that comes from it, okay? There's always a positive lesson to learn from this situation. And this is something that a lot of devs, I think, will use going forward. Stop telling people when your game is coming.
Yeah.
Just stop. Just stop. When it's ready, then you announce it. And then you announce it, you might, and just say, listen, it's coming this fall in 3 months or whatever. It's already gone gold. That's what you got to do. Stop promising people stuff. Don't tell me about, and the thing is, if you don't talk about it, it leaves the public conscience. So they're, so people are not talking about it. They might wonder about it once in a while. Like, for example, have you heard Sony say a peep? And Sony, I got to give it to Sony. They are masters at this. They shut their traps until they're ready to talk about whatever game they're releasing. They don't sit there and give these wishy-washy little, this is what's going on, and this is what we're doing, and it might come out this month, but it might be delayed. They don't say squat. They just shut their mouths, put their heads down, and say, guys, we'll talk about it when it's ready. I have not heard a peep about God of War Ragnarok since September, when they announced it, and all they had the little flash on the screen, and all you heard was, get ready, boy. That was it. Okay, we haven't heard a damn word since. That's how you do it. And if it's not launching in the fall of 2021, you still don't talk about it. Don't speak about it, because then people get distracted by all these other things. Like when you're trying to get a kid to take a picture, you're dangling your car keys behind the camera, and then everybody looks in that direction. That's what happens in social media. There's so much information coming at us. So don't talk about it. Now, as for Cyberpunk, I think it's going to be a magnificent experience. I think it already is for a lot of people. I think right now what is happening is a little bit of a social media witch hunt, okay?
Yeah, it could be.
People jump on a lot of things, and they're like, all of a sudden, one thing happens, 2 things happen, 3 things happen, and I'm not downplaying those things. I'm not downplaying those things at all, okay? I know that they are serious problems, and there are serious problems at CD Projekt Red. However, it's getting to the point now where it's just, oh, come on, guys. It's getting nauseous. Like, all of a sudden, you're like, little Jimmy tripped over his CD Projekt Red a Cyberpunk box and banged his head. Lawsuits incoming. That kind of thing. It's like, guys, enough. And there was another one I just read. This is serious, by the way. I mean, it's not it's a one of the tester, the game players, reviewers at GameSpot. She had an epileptic seizure playing the game.
Yeah, dude. That was no seizure warnings. I mean, they did add it, but
yeah. Well, they said it was there, but it wasn't clear enough.
Oh.
And then now they've re-added it and all this stuff. But then that turned into a whole story. I'm like, guys, come on. Like almost every game has those, especially the Ubisoft games. I'll give them that. At Ubisoft, they always put those in the front of their games. And also, who else does that is Bethesda.
Yes.
They do with all their games. They
Yep.
always, if you're photosensitive material, this and that, whatever, or prone to seizures. But I just feel, and like I said, again, I'm not downplaying that either. I'm just saying that I think that a lot of this is just getting more clicks because what's happening is, it's popular to poop all over CD Projekt Red right now. So let's do more articles, more clicks. You know what I'm saying? And what does this go? And what does this all boil down to for Xbox fans? It's the same as Xbox hate gets a hell of a lot more clicks than positive Xbox.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Right? So a lot of these people are just doing this and riding on this wave and this whole cancel culture bullshit and all this other, and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is happening not because they actually care. They're doing it because they're just trying to make a couple of bucks. All right, 15 cents every time you click on it. So I'm not going to get too invested in it. But what I am going to do is I have it on the back burner and it's going to stay there until I'm ready to get to it. I know there's been 3 hot fixes already. That's already a positive thing. I've got a Series X. That's already a positive thing. I know I'm tempted to just fire it up and just, play for an hour just to check it out. But I'm not going to. I'm going to hold off. Another thing, look at No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky came out a mess, right? The dev himself was saying that he was getting a lot of pressure from Sony because, remember, it was a Sony timed exclusive and all this other stuff. And they said they were pushing him, and he released a mess. And then what did he do? He put his head down, he shut up, and he came out with a magnificent experience later. And look at what's happening now. Does anybody talk about No Man's Sky being a bad experience anymore?
No. It's probably one of the biggest comeback stories of gaming.
Right. Now, CD Projekt Red has $1 billion behind them. Or, several $1 billion behind them. You don't think they can have a comeback story? You're damn right they could. And they will. And you know when that comeback story is really going to hit hard, I think, is when they start implementing the next-gen features. They start releasing DLC stories, because I have a feeling they're going to work on this game for at least another 3 years. That's my call.
Yeah.
And now another thing is, now I know this is nefarious for me to even say this, but I'm going to say it. This is a big plus for Xbox fans. And I'll tell you why. Because of all the negative press, this is going to push Cyberpunk that much quicker into Game Pass. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah,
and
potentially. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to think like that because it's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to CD Projekt Red and the developer, Anyway, but at the same time, if everything that Microsoft has had a marketing deal with has ended up in Game Pass. We talked about this. We saw the leak a year and a half ago about Cyberpunk coming to Game Pass. It is going to come to Game Pass. But I think with this whole disaster, I think a little bit of public PR goodwill would be to put it into Game Pass that much sooner. And I think that when they might do it would probably be like the spring or summer when they implement all, not all, but maybe a lot of the fixes in this game. As for game-breaking bugs, that's not acceptable, so they need to work on those immediately. As for fun little bugs, I don't mind so much. Like, for example, Mafia 3, I thought was a great little romp. I enjoyed that game. And I had a couple of giggles, like I'd be over by the swamp, and all of a sudden, I swear to God, this happened. I wish I had captured it. And I'm sitting there by the swamp, and I'm like, there's alligators, I'm dropping a body in the water, and a boat flew by in the air like an airplane.
Right.
And I go, what the hell was that? And I laughed. I thought that was pretty funny. But I'm not going to sit there and go online and start hammering on my keyboard, going, God, devs, I need you to go to hell, all of them. I don't, you know what I mean? I know that was just whatever. They worked that stuff out. So let's just give them a little bit of time. I know it sucks for all the people, including myself, who have already invested in the game, okay, and are looking forward to the game, especially people on older gen hardware and stuff like that. I do feel for you. But let's give them a little bit of time. Let's see what they can do. Let's give them a chance, okay? Let's give them a chance to be able to right this situation and put everything back on the right track. So let's give them a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and maybe for some of the more toxic people in the community, maybe just back off a little bit and give these guys a little bit of breathing room to, maybe give it another go.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, again, I'm going to hold off picking it up, not because I'm waiting for it to go to Game Pass, because I actually don't really need the game right now because I'm playing so much, and I'm not trying to put 40 hours into a game and then obviously have because I'm never going to use a glitch like to get money or resources. Like, I would never do that. I would just play the game regular because that's how I enjoy playing the games. But at this point, it would literally just me be throwing the money at the wall And there's just no reason for me to buy it with all of the mess that's going on. And let's get Gaming Forte. Before I get to you, brother, got to thank two people for super chats. Isma Easy drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, besides all the bugs and crashes, there's a bigger problem behind the scenes, and it's all of the features that are nowhere in the game. Yeah, that's a big problem. We have the white. Oh man, I know I'm gonna butcher this name. The what if the filler, I think that's how you say it, dude. Listen, I apologize. That is a wicked name. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Says, hey, Boom, I want to spread the word on a game-breaking glitch in the side quest Second Conflict, where Dum Dum does not show up and get me into the club. Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny you should say that, because I think my brother told me about that glitch, that he had to restart his particular save multiple times. But listen, Forte, you're hearing this glitch, and there's nothing worse than you investing 30, 40, 50 hours into a game, and then, of course, because you are not, I don't know, maybe you're farming stuff. Maybe you have a course that you want to build something in this game. And once your save goes past 8 megabits, your save file gets corrupted. Now, I know most people save multiple times. I know I do. I never keep just one save file. But sometimes playing a game, you seem to forget to save on that second save, and it sometimes could be 5, 6, 10 hours from the last time you saved. What would you say to anyone that is invested in this game, and what are your thoughts on this glitch?
Yeah, man, it sucks, man, because a lot of us was really, well, not a lot of us, all of us pretty much were looking forward to this game, and to see it being in the state that it's in is kind of disheartening. And then, insult to injury, the one thing that can really drive a gamer up the wall is wasting his time. And, especially in a game like Cyberpunk, where you could put 40, 50 hours in, and then all of a sudden, just because of a bug in a game, you can technically just lose all of your save progress if you wasn't a person that either uploaded to the cloud to have a backup, or just do, manual saves on the system separately to make sure you had them. And that right there will make you quit the game. That'll make you not even want to go back and play again. Because there's been many games where I done lost save data, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not doing that again. I'm not doing that again. Not gonna put myself through it. It's like, it's just not worth it. Then you start questioning, were you really even having fun with the game? Because if you truly love the game, then anything like that would kind of just make you want to say, you know what, I enjoyed, I'll go back and do it again. So, it kind of just calls that into question. But for me, the biggest problem with the game is, like, I have the game, I had it day one, and I'm definitely going to play it one of these days, but I'm just, I can't. It's like I can't even wrap my head around wanting to jump into this game right now, knowing the state that the game is in. And I hear what everybody is saying about the game. People, saying, the developers this and your management that. And I mean, I just blame it's so much blame to go around with this game. It's not even funny. I mean, the developers definitely should be cut some type of slack, because they did pour their heart and souls into this, and a lot of this falls on the management side of it. But you still develop this game, and you are still part of that team, and this game make it out the door. And I can put 90% of it on management for pushing it out the door, but I'm still going to put that other 10 to 15 to 20% on the developers. Like, yo, what were we doing? What and the thing I'm just happy about is just gamers are just standing up about it. Is like, they're just saying, I'm not going to have busted and buggy games anymore. And hopefully, it is unfortunate that this game might have to be the casualty when it comes to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But somebody needed to do it. Someone, it was going to happen to somebody, because it was only going to be a matter of time until people set up to say, I can't be buying a game day one expecting that I'm going to be able to have a great experience with it. And then all of a sudden I get it home. It doesn't work. Next thing you know, my day is all screwed up. I might have took the next day off just so I can enjoy the game as much as I can and talk to my friends and stuff about it, because we all know games like this are riddled with a bunch of spoilers and stuff, usually within the first 24 to 48 hours. So people just wanted to get, their experiences in, and a lot of people were just met with just a whole bunch of just craziness everywhere. And it was funny for the first couple of days, and now it's just become even more crucial to the fact that the developers are putting their foots in their mouth, and they're coming out saying statements like, we're sorry. Oh yeah, hell yeah, you sorry that you got to come out here and issue all of these refunds, and you telling corporates that telling people to go to places to get their money back without even telling them, like, yo, heads up, we gonna tell people you get your money. I wish somebody would tell me, just because I sold your busted product, that I'm going to give them my money back. You should be giving me back my 30%, just because I had to deal with the enormous amount of calls on 8 million copies of the game sold. And we all know the console base was still the bigger base, even knowing CD Projekt Red is more focused on the PC side, but they still sold more games of that game on console. So just think of what you put all of these other entities through. So I have no heart, no problem with just throwing them under the bus for this, because that's just dumb and stupid. But overall, just adding this as another piece to the pie is it's super unaccessible. It's super I can't even tweak right now, but it's unacceptable, man. I really, it's really no other words to actually say about it. It just really just comes back to, what are we going to do throughout this generation? What is this generation going to be known for? Well, it was known for the generation that Sony ran away with it. Nintendo had an amazing comeback, and Xbox decided that it's going to stick to its competencies and talk about the things they're good about, which is services and Game Pass. That's what this generation is going to be about. But when it comes to the games, it's going to be a generation riddled with a bunch of stuff that didn't work day one, going all the way back to games like Assassin's Creed Unity, where faces were melting off of people, and games like Watch Dogs was being shown on high-end PCs, and we never even got that fidelity on that platform. So, everything's going full circle at this point right now. It just really comes down to, I hear people talking now. They're saying that I'm not buying the game, I'm getting my refund, I'm not going back. But when this game does get fixed, and it will get fixed, because trust me, Witcher was a buggy hell of a mess. For the first year, it was terrible. Was it as bad as this? No, it wasn't as bad as this. But that ended up being Game of the Year after being buggy as hell for the first year that it was out. So just think about that. So this game, they're going to put a lot of work into it. I do feel the game's going to make a comeback for a lot of people. But for the people that's decided to, put their money where their mouth is, their wallet, I should say, and say, I'm not going to deal with this game, those are the people that I want to cheer today, because they're the reason that the media is running with these stories. And the one thing I will say that Mag has said, he's 100% right. This is a cash grab when it comes to all of these media outlets talking about it, but that's the industry we're in. If you type in Cyberpunk 2077, you'd be hard pressed to come up with a gameplay video. Everybody, all you're gonna see is just video after video about what's going on about Cyberpunk. Shout out to my man Hogue Law, best lawyer on internet. That man, like a whole playlist of nothing about what's going on with Cyberpunk. Business is good right now, so they gonna eat off of this. And guess what? CD Projekt Red and their management portfolio has nothing but themselves to blame for this. So I have no quarrels with telling people, keep talking, because this game is still broken, and until it's not broken, I expect people to keep talking about this, because this game was too high profile and people waited way too long for this game to come out in the state that it was in.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, folks, this has been a very, very strange show for a lot of reasons. One, we talked about the Mandalorian to open up, something we don't normally do, but I think it was fun. It was a fun conversation. We have, I thought tonight's show was fantastic. Again, the last minute addition was this breaking news with the bug, and I thought that it certainly was more important to talk about than the Sony scalping situation, which we will eventually cover once we get some more information on it. Right now, Sony is seeing software sales lower than they anticipated. Instead of being 3 per console, they are getting 1 piece of software per 3 units. And that's not good, especially if you are losing money on each piece of hardware sold. Now, we know that they are, but we don't know how much. But again, that is definitely a story for another day. But listen, folks, this has been a great show. I want to thank the near 200 people that showed up to tonight's show. Of course, I want to thank CMBR for being a part of tonight's program. So we're going to get to the outros and get everyone out of here. And we'll start with our guest, CMBR. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Why don't you tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media? But what else do you have going on?
Well, Boom panel, thank you so much. This was a ton of fun, and it was great to hear everybody's opinion on the topics. And just the chat, I have to say, Boom, great job producing this stuff. He puts in a lot of work behind the scenes to get these shows up and off the ground, and to do 3 of them a week for us. I don't think I fully appreciated it before being invited on. So thank you so much for doing that for us, and giving us just a place to hang out weekly. It's been really great. For me, I'm on Twitter at CMBR_Ray. I'm maybe planning on doing a few more videos, or maybe starting up a little bit of a YouTube talk. I just enjoy the investing aspect of this. That's sort of my background. I'm an accountant and an investor. I've started my own investment company, and I just follow the games industry from that perspective. So
nice.
I would just like to say thank you so much, everyone, once again, for having me on.
Well, listen, dude, Ray, this is certainly not going to be the last time you're on this show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we're definitely going to get you back in the new year for sure. Next up, we'll go with Cybernox. Brother, why don't you tell everyone about your YouTube channel, but more importantly, where could people reach out to you on social media?
Appreciate that, Boom. Always love being here Monday evening with you guys. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays.
Yes.
Everybody, please be safe out there. But enjoy yourselves as well. Jay, sorry, Ray, it was a pleasure meeting you, bud. Hopefully we get to do this again. And Cybernox everywhere, guys. You know the drill. Cybernox on YouTube, Twitch, Xbox. That's where I'm mostly more active. That's my primary console. So if you're ever down, for gaming, just hit me up there and shoot me a message. We'll link up. And that's it for me, guys. Catch us back here next Monday, prime time.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, actually, you know what? I think we're gonna be talking about that, because I think everyone needs a break, including myself. I think that what we're going to do is Wednesday's Xbox Factor podcast will be the last show of the year for my channel. I'm going to take a little bit of a hiatus, kind of recharge the batteries over the holiday, and take that New Year's week off. The missus is going to take off a couple of days, so we're just going to hang out and enjoy ourselves. Yeah, I think it's time for a break, and obviously, doing this week's shows great right before Christmas, but I think we're going to take off for the remainder of the year. I think Wednesday's show will be the last one. And then we'll come back in the new year recharged and powered and ready to go. But listen, let's get Tempest on. Tempest, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, I know you had a little bit of issue with your fire alarm.
Damn fire alarm. Frick.
Tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, link up with you on Xbox Live.
Yep, Xbox Live is Tempest Sun with a space, and then my Twitter is @TheTempestSun. Ray, you did a hell of a job for your first show, man. I know I wasn't that good my first show. And everybody else, you guys are rock stars. Good to be back. I missed a couple of weeks, but this feels like home. Monday nights. It's good stuff. And I guess I won't see you next week. It'll be, what, a week after that, I guess?
Yeah, the week after, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll see everybody then, and I guess back to more Cyberpunk for me.
Well, thanks so much for being here, brother. Super appreciate your insight as always. Next up, Clowns. Why don't you tell everyone about what you got going on with Four Guys with Quarters, and more importantly, where could people reach out to you on social media?
Well, everyone can find me at Italian Clowns on all social media, 4GWQ Podcast on Twitter. And boom, we actually have some big interviews coming up. We have David Housen tomorrow,
Nice.
who normally does musical composition for Hollywood movie studios like Warner Brothers. He also did Battletoads and Lost Words Beyond the Pages. And then after that, we're going to have Jared Farber on. I believe his first name's Jared, so forgive me if I get it wrong. I get a lot of emails. He's actually a musical composer. He did Nickelodeon stuff, and he also did Teen Titans Go the movie, and he does a lot of like musical scores for animation and other things like that in pop culture.
Nice, dude. Well, listen, that's awesome. Where can people reach out to you on social media then if they want to get your message?
You could just hit me up at Italian Clowns. It's with the Z. You could DM me. My DMs are always open.
Nice. Well, thanks so much for being here, brother. Super appreciate it. Gaming Forte.
Yo.
How the heck have you been? More importantly, tell everyone about your outstanding and incredibly awesome YouTube channel. But more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, man. Just working. That's pretty much it. Working and doing closing. I haven't let anybody know, but we didn't know we was still in the process. But we're closing on our house next month. So
nice, dude. Congratulations, bro.
That's why people really haven't really seen it. It's like between house looking and house searching, I should say, and going through the whole motions of that, then trying to still deal with this whole holiday situation at work. It's like, it's like, so that's another reason why I was like, I'll wait on Cyberpunk. I'll wait for the patches to come out. So, but no, man, it's been good. This was a great show with you guys, man. I just wanted to say, it's great to be here with you guys. Since this is going to be the last time that I will do this with you guys this year.
Yes,
I want you guys to all have an amazing holiday. Everybody in the chat, make sure you guys, spend the time with the ones you love and everything, which is always the most important thing that you can do this time of year. And don't hold back, man. Just, go into next year with the dreams and ambitions that you want to have going into next year, because next year is going to be 10 times better than this year.
Absolutely.
That's all we need to be thinking about. But outside of that, it's Gaming Forte everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation. Check us out on the DPS podcast every Thursday, 9 p.m. With Slow-Mo Backslap. Brat podcast on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. and Crossfire at 7 on Fridays. And Ash and Luca, even if I'm not there, I will always shout that show out. It is 3 p.m. every Saturday night at Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. You guys have a great week and really appreciate all the work you've been doing, Boone. This is truly an immense occasion being here with you for a year and a half and going into 2021 with you too.
Definitely appreciate you being a part of that journey. It's been a big deal for me. Didn't know how the night show was going to run, and it's been a lot of fun. And last, and in no way least, the loudest of the panel members, Mag, do me a favor, brother. Tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media, but potentially talk to you on Twitter.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter on the Middle Age Game Guy. That's with a GY at the end, of course. And you can follow me on the Xbox and the PlayStation 5. I have conglomerated my name. It is all capitals, one word, no spaces, because I don't know how to be quiet. It is I am the Mag. Yes, with 2 G's. You can follow me there. You can find me here every Monday night, except for next week. We're taking a little bit of a break. Every Monday night, other than that, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here with Mr. Boomstick XL and friends. And, of course, every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with none other than Nukem and Titan Drago. And let me tell you guys something. We got a special treat this week. It's finally happening, folks. The Mighty Mooch and the Mighty Mag are facing off tomorrow night.
Oh, that's a big one.
10 p.m. on Gaming After Dark. That's right. He's coming on the show, but we also have the Lady of Gaming, Lady AF, is going to be on the show as well as myself.
Wow, what a panel.
Awesome.
It's going to be a hell of a show, and apparently there might even be a surprise guest from what I'm hearing. But anyway, guys, it's been wonderful as always. CMBR, I didn't know if I wanted to call you that or Ray. I just call you Ray. But let me tell you something. Had a great show with you tonight. It was wonderful to hear you on the show. I'd love to see you again here. And guys, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. Just do it with your family and do it safely. Everybody, have a great evening.
Well, thank you so much for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate the well wishes. And yes, folks, listen, as we roll out of Primetime Gaming, there will be one more show on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with everyone from the Xbox Factor podcast. That will be the last one of the year. Again, like I was just, I just want to say that I appreciate all of the messages I've been getting. I want to thank all of the people who continuously donate to the super chats. I mean, obviously, you definitely power the show, especially when it comes to the giveaways. And we've had quite a few of them this year, big ones for that matter. And we could not do that. And of course, the men and women that continue to show up to these shows and just hang out in the chat and have a good time. I cannot thank you enough for supporting this old man's dream. And hopefully we will see you next year on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And folks, have a great holiday. Be safe. Wear a mask. And really, just be careful because, like I said, you could be the safest person in the room. But if you don't know that person standing on the side of you, maybe they're not being as cautious. You don't want to get sick and you do not want to infect your family. Keep the gathering small. And listen, folks, we're going to get past this. The shots are here. We just have to get the vaccines. And I guarantee you that 2021 is going to be a much better year for everyone. And like I said, have a great night. Be safe. And I'll close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dear old dad taught me. And he used to say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.